friend.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Please announce yourself.
Hello?
Hello, brother. Hold on. We'll be right there with you. Hang on.
I just heard everything was silent all of a sudden.
Okay. No, that's okay. All right. We're live on the air right now. And ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Wiley Drake, and it's my privilege now since the year 2000, January of 2000, to serve as the chairman of the Congressional Prayer Conference of Washington, D.C. Now, we're going to talk more about that later, but right now I have a caller on the line with me, and we're going to get with that. I'm going to cut to the chase. My name's Wiley Drake. It is a Congressional Prayer Conference of Washington, D.C. If you hear me or any of my guests say anything that you would like to comment on, you'd like to say amen or oh me, whatever you want to do, you're welcome to do so. He called in on this phone number, 712-432-1690. Put in his access code, 399-430-pound, and he's on the line with us right now. And you can be on the line with us anytime you would like. All you have to do is call that number and put in your access code. Now, it will ask you to identify yourself. Now, we do not require that. That's a part of the system. So if you want to ignore that and just remain anonymous, that's certainly your right. As a constitutional American, you have the right of privacy. We have another caller on the line right now. We got two callers on. We're going to move ahead with our program. Remember, this program is broadcast via the auspices of the Congressional Prayer Conference of Washington, D.C., and the Wiley Drake Show. And if I ask you to identify yourself, you just ignore that if you want to remain anonymous. But if you do want to identify yourself, please go right ahead. Now, we do have a gentleman on from Arizona with us, and I believe you're willing, sir, to identify yourself?
Morgan Firecloud.
Morgan. And it's Firecloud?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Firecloud.
Okay, Morgan Firecloud. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason he is on is that he had talked to me before. We know, I had an email this morning from an attorney that's very concerned about our rights being taken away from us in this country. We've done a program with Kent Hovind, who's been in jail now for 8 years with the terrible, terrible IRS bogus charges. He's an innocent man, and yet he served 8 years in jail. Now, we're dealing with a lot of these things, but one of the things that we've dealt with over the years has been the fact that our government is taking our children away from us, that is, parents and grandparents, and they're doing it all under the auspices of child protection. And they're not, that's an absolute lie, because they're really not protecting the children. They're getting money. Even the Supreme Court of the state of California and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said it appears that there is a financial incentive for the courts to keep the children away from the parents. And anybody that's been involved in that, or you've heard about that, you know that it is very difficult, because they have all the attorneys, they have all the money, and most people who've lost their children have very little money, and so they're fighting an uphill battle. Well, what we've tried to offer here, first of all, let me give you a disclaimer. I am not an attorney. I am not an attorney wannabe. I am not a paralegal. I am a pastor. I'm a preacher. And I am a communicator. And I believe, though, the best way for us to get justice, the theme for this program is do justice, love mercy, and walk with God. And I believe one of the best ways we can do justice in this country today, on this day in the year 2015, 19th day of January, is to take it not to the courts, but to the court of public opinion. And I am the facilitator for that court of public opinion. Morgan Firecloud, Morgan Firecloud has a story to tell, and I'm going to be quiet now and let him tell his story, and so you, the public, can hear and judge this case. So, Morgan, share your case with us, would you?
Okay, well, it's kind of a long story, but bottom line is, For over a year now, I have been trying to get myself. I've been ending an abusive relationship. I was in an abusive relationship with my son's mother, our son's mother. She was arrested December 11th, 13 after she assaulted me. I had been trying for 4 years before that to get out, told time after time. So if she gets violent, there's nothing we can do. That arrest marked the beginning of what became a huge nightmare. I have been fighting in one way or another for a year and a half, almost 2 years, because every time I tell one of my son's caseworkers I'd like a second opinion, they're threatening with CPS.
Yeah.
For the past year, I have had to deal with CPS looking over our situation. I've had to deal with his behavioral health. I've had to deal with doctors. And if even so much as I raise an eyebrow at what they say, they immediately tell me, well, then we're going to have to notify CPS. I am disabled. I am on oxygen. I have a limited income. My son is autistic. He is also disabled. He is a prime candidate for what's going on here in Arizona. When the governor last year restructured CPS, she also gave the management to the foster care program to Corrections Corporation of America, the same company that is overseeing the private prisons here in Arizona, which now they all are. So now you have a private company running the foster care program. The same foster care program is also being subsidized by either Abbott or Baxter Labs. Arizona has more kids in foster care on medication than any other state in the country.
My goodness.
So I'm looking at my son and knowing he's a prime candidate to be nothing more than an income source.
Yeah. Well,
we use the word slave.
Yeah, we have worked very closely with the state of Arizona. We were, in fact, over there responsible on the very day that the governor, quote, abolished CPS. And, of course,
Well, she didn't abolish it.
Well, as we suspected, they just renamed it. They didn't really abolish it.
Correct.
And
they restructured it, and so part of the power of it actually went to a corporation.
Yeah. And what we're finding is, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and this is all in the file that went to the Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said that it is the CPS system is a danger to the family, and there seems to be, they said, a financial incentive. Well, here's what we know, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard Morgan talk about this corporation that's taken over. The governor said, I'm going to abolish CPS because it was doing so many things wrong, and we had proved to them that children had been taken away, first of all, taken away illegally and ungodly, and then not giving them back. And the reason they don't give them back is because every child that they have in the system, ladies and gentlemen, here's the fact in this case. Every child they have in the system, they get minimum $2,000 per month per child. Now, that's a great incentive to have a lot of kids in the system. And so there's no incentive to put the kids back with the parents. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for a long, long time. I've been a Christian since 1964. I've pastored a church for over 25 years. We have a homeless shelter here. I deal with people all the time. We have a sanctuary here. We take in men and women who have gotten in trouble. They're broke. They're on the street. They're on dope and alcohol and so forth and so on. So I'm used to dealing with those kind of people. It's not like I'm just some little panty-waist, naive preacher out here. I'm familiar with this. Now, but the bottom line is, folks, God, and I know people don't like to talk about him, but I'm going to talk about him because he's in charge. God gave me 3 daughters and 1 son. He didn't give me 2 sons. He didn't give me 4. He gave me 1 son and 3 daughters. Now, God gives us our children. Now, folks, I'm willing to admit to you in a heartbeat that some parents out there aren't worth spit. I mean, they're terrible parents. They abuse their kids. They don't take good care of them, et cetera, et cetera. But those are very small, and I have 25 years of experience to back this up. That is a very small percentage. Most families are good families. Listen, My daughter, my oldest child is 50 years of age. And I guarantee you, if you and I and her sit down, you'll find out I wasn't a perfect parent. You'll also find out that as much as I love my dear wife of 48 years, who's in heaven now, she wasn't a perfect mother either. But we did a good job. And we shouldn't have had our kids taken away from us. And we didn't have them. They threatened to several times because we didn't want to put them in a public school system that would tell them that two girls having sex and two boys having sex was all right. I said it's not even right to say a boy and a girl have a right to have sex because they're just students, they're kids. The only people that have the right to have sex according to the Bible is man and wife. Anybody else doing it, it's adultery. If two boys do it or two girls do it, it's sodomy. Now, bottom line is, folks, some of those parents aren't perfect perfect parents. But what we've experienced over the years, men like Morgan and his son and other families, they say, well, you have an autistic child. You have a problem. You have drug, alcohol. You have so forth and so on. And they jump through all the hoops. They go all the classes. They jump through all the hoops. And they still don't give them their kids back. That ought not be. Those kids, if parents are doing something wrong, they need to be taken care of. If parents are doing something that they ought not be doing, they ought not do it. And that needs to be corrected. But once those parents are corrected, once those parents are back on the straight and narrow, then they need to have their kids back because God gave them the kids, not a social worker, not a system, and not a corporation that's running the system. Morgan, you've been fighting this battle for a year and a half, right?
Somewhat, yes, and it's not just against the state. It's also, since mom's been arrested, there was an order of protection against her. And now that that's over and we're back in the custody battle, I tried to bring charges against her for abuse. Mm-hmm. I went through CPS's family preservation program. I got the official okie dokie from CPS that I'm a good parent. But yet, they tell me if I want to bring charges against the mother, they have to remove my son to a foster home because that's policy.
Yeah.
Even though they've said I'm a good parent, they have to remove him because that's policy.
Unbelievable the way they
charges against his mother without losing my son.
Yeah, and
so here I'm in court.
They go along with
advisor.
They go along with policy when it benefits them, and then when it doesn't benefit them, they change it. Now, speaking of policy, my producer here said that we have some photographs of you. Is that okay to put those up?
Absolutely.
You and your son?
That's why I sent them to you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a court of public opinion, and that's why I said we don't ever put a picture or a name or anything up without your permission. But Morgan Firecloud has given us permission, and my producer will put him up. You see him and his gorgeous little son here on the screen right now, and you see Morgan Firecloud. You see his son. How old is your son?
9.5 now, and his hair is significantly longer than that now.
Okay. All right. Well,
the picture's back last March.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we let his hair grow out. I don't have an issue with that.
We put this picture up for two reasons. Number one, we want to be honest. Number two, we want you to put a face with a prayer request. We have prayed now for months for Morgan and his child, and we have continued to pray for them, and we will continue to pray. I want you to look at the face of that father and that son, and I want you to put them on your prayer list, and I want you to pray for them, and I want you to share here on our program. And if there's anything we can share about a case that you're on, a case you know about, please let us know. I'm going to give you a telephone number, 714-865-8132. 714-865-8132. Now, if you want to send us anything by email, you can email us a picture, you can email us a file, you can email us anything. But we will use it, we will talk about it unless you tell us not to. Now, the way you email something to us is you send it to Roadrunner and Wiley. Roadrunner, Andwiley, Roadrunner and Wiley at gmail.com. Now, the reason we use that email is that we remember the stories, all of us do, about Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote was always trying to catch the Roadrunner. He never did, and they made a cartoon about it. Well, our email is called Roadrunner and Wiley. Roadrunner and Wiley at gmail.com. That's our website. Any information you want to give us, you put up there. We will not put it up without your permission. You'll notice we just put into practice. I've been talking to Morgan. I've been talking to him about his case, and I encouraged him to come on today. And even after he came on, my producer, though, looked over at me and said, we've got these pictures. Do we have his permission to put them up? And that's when I asked, and he said yes. So that's how we operate, folks. We don't violate the law. We don't violate privacy, but we tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. And our motto on this program is justice, mercy, and faith. In my opinion, as a pastor, as a communicator, as a father and a grandfather and a great-grandfather, what has been done to this man and this little boy is absolutely atrocious, a very great injustice, and we're here to talk about it. Morgan, anything else you'd like to tell us about it?
Well, like I said, it's a very complicated. I desperately need an attorney because I need somebody who's standing in front of Aiden, in front of the judge, because the judge set up a court-appointed attorney. A court-appointed advisor. It was a psychiatrist who came and talked to me, talked to Jody. I'm going to email you a paper in just a minute from the report from that court-appointed advisor because that's public record. I can send that to you. Anybody's free to look at it. But the CAA said that Aiden is obviously traumatized from abuse.
Yeah.
I have records from his behavioral health that says that of mother admitting to abusing him. I've had to live with any time she got angry at him, she would grab him by the shoulders and shake him. And please excuse my language, but I have to say her words. I hate you, you little shit. I wish you'd never effing been born. Then I wouldn't have to put up with you and your father's bullshit. I wish I'd had an abortion. I hate you, etc., etc.
Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of thing that we're fighting, and we hope you'll help us fight. And the way you help, number one, most importantly, P-R-A-Y, pray. That's our greatest tool. The other tool we have is the court of public opinion, and that is the Wiley Drake Show, and we're on here every day, Monday through Friday, at 9 a.m. California time and 5 p.m., and we take it to the court of public opinion. Folks, we're not only fighting for families, we're fighting for freedom. We're going to be doing a seminar coming up in the future, a panel discussion on here where we're going to be discussing constitutional rights and civil rights and those kind of things, and we'll encourage you to be involved in that. Morgan, anything else you'd like to tell us about your case and about your son? And
well, like I said, he's brilliant. I will admit this. I just now, the past few months, got my life right with God, okay? I'm attending Calvary Chapel. We're attending Calvary Chapel, I should say.
Yeah.
My son has developed this hunger for the Bible.
Amen.
Now, at the same time, this is this beautiful little boy. He's 9.5 years old, and he reads books on quantum physics.
My goodness.
Okay? He's 9.5, and he's actually reading books on quantum physics. It is his favorite subject.
Mm.
If there's a program on about quantum physics, he's right there riveted to the show.
Mm.
Yes, he loves Legos. He loves music as well. He loves electronic music. I have a fundraiser set up for, that gives a lot more of the story, too. I have a video available for anybody who wants to see it. I'm sending you the link right now to that.
Okay, would you like to put that link out verbally right now to folks?
I'm sending it to you. I'm sending a comment to you. I don't know if your comments get seen.
All right. Well, listen. Let me do this. We will.
That video is at vimeo.com/1087/. 10877-44032. That's Vimeo.com, 108744032.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to promote justice, mercy, and faith. And that's how we do it. We do it by having these programs. We do it by allowing a father and his son to come on, and we'll be more than happy to let you come on with your program, or you're on our program, really, with your situation. We're going to be talking about some other situations. Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to pray two things. Pray for him. And number two, put feet to your prayers. If you know of an attorney that could help him, he needs an attorney, ladies and gentlemen, but he's on limited income. He needs an attorney.
Urgently.
If you're listening out there, please contact him and let him know that you'll be willing to work with him as his attorney to help him get his child back. Now, I understand right now the child is with you. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, and I have temporary sole decision making, but if any little thing goes wrong, I mean, such as I ask a doctor for a second opinion, he could be taken away, like that.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's the court appointed advisor showed that there had been a proof that there was abuse.
Yeah.
I have proved to the judge that Aiden's mother lied under oath repeatedly. I have proved that she tried to manipulate the courts. I have proved on paper, with a paper trail, that she has filed unsubstantiated reports with CPS against me, and that I have a letter from CPS saying she did. But the judge is one of these judges that favors the mother no matter what. He hasn't even really looked at all of that. He still basically is willing to give Jody visitation, meaning Aiden gets to go into this abusive situation. And that's even worse, because at this point in time, Jody is living with her stepfather. Aiden will be going into the same environment 2 weekends a month that created his mother and that created Aiden's Uncle Paul. Uncle Paul, who is doing 17 to life for his third violent offense. The man had spent almost 20 years in prison for abuse, for rape, for assault, and Aiden will be going, this special little boy will be going into the same home environment that created those people.
Well, brother, we want you to know
her stepfather is extremely psychologically and verbally abusive and is proud of the fact.
Well, we want you to know, brother, we're praying with you and for you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're an attorney or a paralegal even, you'd like to help this man, get in touch with him. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
FireCloud1013 @gmail.
Okay, so
it's... Just say regarding Aiden.
Give us that again.
FireCloud, FireCloud 1013 @gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have, on the one hand, maybe you would just send him an email and say, brother, I'm praying for you. Now, he needs more than that, but he needs that as well. Send him an email at firecloud1013 @gmail and just say, I'm praying for you. That's number one. Number two, send him an email at firecloud1013 @gmail.com and say, I'm an attorney. I'll be glad to talk with you. And then get in touch and let them talk. And anything else that you can do to help. Here's a man who's on a very limited income and a very tight budget, and if you want to help, that's the way to help as well. You can help by simply encouraging them.
I have talked to lots of attorneys.
Yeah.
And they basically, when it comes down to the money issue, even the ones that have been referred to me by my pastor, when it comes down to the money issue, all of a sudden they lose interest. Or we can't afford to take pro bono right now.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know how to pray, and you know how to get in touch with him. You know how to encourage him. And if you're an attorney or paralegal and want to help, you know how to get in touch with him. Send him an email at firecloud1013, firecloud1013 @gmail.com. Let him know you're praying with him and praying for him. And Morgan, know that we are indeed, every day, we're praying for you. And we thank the Lord for you and your son. And God's still on the throne. Don't give up, brother. Keep on keeping on. Hang in there. And
I'm not.
And if there's any other update you need to give us, please come back to us anytime. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things we do, we have a program here every day at 9 o'clock and one at 5 o'clock, and you're welcome anytime. Morgan called just a little while ago on 712-432-1690. And when he called that number, it says put in your access code, 399-430-pound. Now, it will ask you to identify yourself. But if you would like to remain anonymous, just ignore that request. We do not make you identify yourself. I told Morgan before, and he said no, he'd be glad to. And if you want to identify a social worker that you know, we would love to have you be a part of an organization. We'd love to have you be a part of us, with us. We'd love for you to send us a name of a social worker that you know is doing something wrong. We just recently had a social worker fired, but they've reinstated her now. And you know why she was fired? For falsifying records. They falsify records to get their way, even when they have a judge that's trying to do what's right, which is very uncommon. But please, give us any information. Give us a judge's name, his phone number, his email. Give us, and that's not private information, so don't get excited about it. You attorneys, settle down. The bottom line is, anything you want to give us, we'll put out. We'll
and I will also happily provide the names of all the social workers, judges, and everybody who's been involved in my son's situation if I need to.
All right. We'd love to have you do that.
I have all that.
All right. Very good. Now, anything else you'd like to share with our audience at this point?
Well, it's just, like I said, it's frustrating because on one hand, I told him he told him a good parent. And even right now, my son has gastrointestinal issues. He has gut problems. We're trying to get him potty trained. He's 9 years old and cannot tell when he defecates. He doesn't know. He can't feel it like other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been following the program. But now the doctor is saying, and then of course the court-appointed advisor is getting involved in this, they're telling me I have to get him back in school.
Yeah.
Because he needs, number one, he needs social interaction skills. Well, I've got him in Sunday school. I'm going to some Christian meetups for kids with autism that I'm going to start attending. I've got plenty of social interaction skills going on.
Yeah.
But they want me to get him back in school, even though when the short little period that I did take their word and put him back in school, his gut problems got worse. It took me 3 months after I took him out of school, after a teacher assaulted him. I put him in school like they told me to, and one day he comes home with bruises all the way around his arms, where a teacher had grabbed him and picked him up off the ground so hard that he left bruises on my son, yellow, purple, and green bruises that lasted a week. So I pulled him out of school because I filed charges against the teacher. I filed a complaint with CPS. I pulled him out of school because I was concerned with retaliation.
Yes.
Now they're telling me they want to put him back into that same school, but they'll be there to defend him.
My goodness.
And if I don't do it, again, they're going to take him away.
Yeah.
If he doesn't start showing progress on the potty issues, they're going to take and lock him up in Phoenix Children's Hospital for 3 to 6 months. My son has already been traumatized enough.
Yeah.
How much trauma has this kid got to endure? But they don't care about the trauma of the kid. They care about the income source.
Well, it's about the money.
About
They
the
want
traumatizing
the money. If they have him in their system, they get money. If they put him back with you, they don't get the money. It's that simple. Even the
And
Ninth
the way the
Circuit.
system is set up here in Arizona, sorry, sir.
No, that's okay.
And the way the system is set up here in Arizona, with Corrections Corporation of America running everything now, if they get your kid, especially a special needs kid like my son, they've got an income source till the day he dies of old age. Because they will funnel him through the foster care program, then they will find a way to funnel him into the prison system, and then they will keep him in the prison system till the day he dies. Because he is autistic, because he is special needs, they'll find a reason to keep him there, and he'll be an income source. He's nothing more than a slave.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the tragedy.
And they are enslaving our children.
That's the tragedy, ladies and gentlemen, and the injustice. That's why we say our main goal here, top of the list, is the word justice and mercy and faith. But the top is justice. Jesus said that, not me, folks. That's Jesus' words. In Matthew 23:23, he says, justice, mercy, and faith. And that's the most important thing, Jesus said. So we're working together with people like Morgan Firecloud, with others. We would encourage you to come on our program. We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we'd welcome you to come on the program and share your story. Anything else, Morgan, you'd like to share?
It's just so hard, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
brother,
I'm trying to be a good father. I'm trying to teach him. I'm trying to educate him. I'm trying to, raise him up to grow up to be a godly man.
Mm-hmm.
And all I keep hearing is that your night's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, brother, you're absolutely right. I've certainly not gone through anywhere near what you've had to go through, but when my son, who is now 36 years of age, was a little boy, the school system said they threatened to bring charges against me for abusing my child because I had him in home education, not in public school. And they said that I or my wife were not qualified, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, we fought that and won that, and thanks to some legal organizations and so forth. And so we need to pray, and we need to find some other organizations. I'm going to be talking in a little bit, let you be listening to some information from one of the organizations that we work with very closely, and that is the Rutherford Institute, and we praise God for them. But, Morgan, if there's nothing else you want to share, I'm going to move ahead.
Well, okay, but would this Rutherford Institute be willing to help Aiden at all?
Well, I'm not sure. You just have to contact them. The organization that we work with is called the Rutherford Institute, and the guy that is the top dog there is John Drakeford. And we encourage you to, in fact, let me do this. Let me just play something. You're welcome to stay on as long as you want. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the ways we work this program. We're going to move on from Morgan's case, but we're going to give you some information. I'm going to give you something here that he can listen to and that we can listen to. So listen for the next 3 or 4 minutes to this information from an organization called the Rutherford Institute. And this is their comment, and then I'll play the audio for you. It says the United States Supreme Court was intended to be an institution established to intervene and protect the people against the government, and that's what we're talking about, and its agents when they oversee their bounds. Yet, as John Whitehead, I gave the wrong name a while ago, John Whitehead is an attorney. His name is John W. Whitehead, and he points out in this week's broadcast that Americans can no longer rely on the courts to mete out justice. Folks, this is an attorney. This guy's been an attorney for 40-something years. In the police state being erected around us, and we're not just talking about the police on the street, we're talking about the police in the social services and so forth. But the police and other government agents can probe, poke, pinch, taser, search, seize, strip, and generally manhandle anyone they see fit to do so, and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, we're going to listen now to this gentleman, John Whitehead, and I would encourage you, Morgan, just to go to the Rutherford Institute, and check with this gentleman. Send him an email, whatever you'd like to do, but communicate with him. His name is John Whitehead, and tell him your story and see if the Rutherford Institute can help you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, hang on. I'm going to play an audio here for you. From the Rutherford Institute, talking about freedom.
This is John W. Whitehead, author of A Government of Wolves, the emerging American police state, bringing you a message about the state of our nation. What we're facing right now as American citizens in the United States is what I would call an extreme irony. We're facing a militarized police state. Unarmed citizens are getting shot. All kinds of dangerous things are happening to citizens. You're having 4-year-old kids now getting arrested in public schools and taken to jail and arrested simply because they're throwing a tantrum at school or disagreeing. More and more, those entrusted with protecting the Constitution, the justices on the Supreme Court, are siding with law enforcement and other government agents against the citizenry. Probably one of the most dangerous cases recently decided, among others, is the Hine case, Hine versus North Carolina. In April 2009, a police officer stopped Nicholas Hine's car, allegedly over a faulty brake light, and during the course of the stop and subsequent search, found a small amount of cocaine in the car. In North Carolina, where the traffic stop took place, it's not actually illegal to have only one working brake light. When the legitimacy of the traffic stop was challenged in court and the evidence was attempted to be suppressed, the arresting officer claimed ignorance, and the courts deemed it a reasonable mistake, and the Supreme Court upheld this, saying that ignorance of the law by a policeman, if it's reasonable, they can violate your rights. Now, if you reverse this situation, it's almost automatic. If a citizen is ignorant of the law and breaks the law, they're found guilty almost 100% of the time. There's no exception for the citizen. But now we have an exception for policemen who, if they're ignorant of the law, can go ahead and violate your constitutional rights, and it's okay. It's upheld. This is just one of a number of cases that have caused some great alarm among those who believe in civil liberties and constitutional lawyers out there that are fighting to save our Constitution. For example, I didn't know it was against the law was the excuse the police used to justify the repeated tasering of Malika Brooks. She was 8 months pregnant and on her way to drop her son off at school. Mrs. Brooks was repeatedly tasered by Seattle police during a routine traffic stop simply because she refused to sign a speeding ticket. The police who tasered the pregnant woman insisted they weren't aware that repeated electroshocks to a pregnant woman qualified as constitutionally excessive and unreasonable force. The Supreme Court, as you might guess, gave the police a get-out-of-jail card. In Maryland v. King, a divided Supreme Court determined that police can forcibly take your DNA, whether or not you've even been convicted of a crime. And in an effort to make life easier for overworked jail officials, the court ruled in Florence v. Burlington that police can subject Americans to virtual strip searches no matter the offense. Then in one of the most egregious cases I've ever read, to be honest with you, and I'm 40 years a civil liberties attorney, in an 8-1 ruling in Kentucky v. King, the Supreme Court ruled that if a SWAT team arrives at your door, it's the wrong door, they don't have a warrant, but they think you might be doing something illegal, they can bash through your door, the SWAT team, conduct a search of your property, arrest you, shoot your dog or whatever, and that's constitutional. Justice Ginsburg, the only dissenter in that case, said it was the end of the Fourth Amendment.
Amen.
What these cases tell us is this. We're no longer protected by the courts in this country. I've studied former regimes, Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, what we see happening in some countries today that we would call regimes. The last institution to fall before the curtain falls on what we might call fascism are the courts. The courts start agreeing with the state and protecting government agents against all types of egregious activity.
And that's CPS.
What does this mean for us? Well, what it means is it's time to wake up, folks.
Amen.
It's time to realize you no longer live in what we might call a free country. That if you make the slightest mistake, you can be shot, you can be tasered, you can be taken to jail, Your rights can be violated, and you have no remedy whatsoever. So what can you do? Get active. Get your neighbors together. Get down to your local city council, your local courts. Protest. Show them that you will no longer put up with this type of activity. And when your rights are violated, contact groups like the Rutherford Institute, and let's take these things to the court. Maybe sooner or later we can wake these justices up to the reality that we live in a free land and that our Constitution protects our rights. For more information on the Rutherford Institute, visit us at www.rutherford.org.
RUTHERFORD, Rutherford.org. Contact them. Let them know. John has a new book out called A Government of Wolves. I would encourage you to go to Amazon or wherever you buy books and get that book called A Government of Wolves. A Government of Wolves, ladies and gentlemen. And I would encourage you to get that book. And if you get that book, I want to give you an incentive to get it. I can't afford to buy it for you. You'll have to go on Amazon or wherever you get your books and purchase it yourself. I can't. I wish I could afford to buy it and just give it to you, but I can't. I don't have the finances to do that. But it's called A Government of Wolves. You can go on Amazon or wherever you get books and get that book. I will give you two incentives to get it. Number one, the incentive to know more about John Whitehead and the Rutherford Institute. That's number one. And number two, if you get this book, you get his book, you come on this program and tell me you give a book report on his book. I will offer you free time here on the air. You can come on, just as Morgan has, you can come on and say, I read the book, I liked the book, I didn't like the book. Whatever you like or didn't like, you're welcome to share that with us. So I want to say, and I didn't ask John Whitehead to do this. He didn't ask me to do it. I didn't ask for his permission. But I'm telling you, as the host, as the chairman of the Congressional Prayer Conference of Washington, D.C., if you get John Whitehead's book, A Government of Wolves, and you read that book, and you'd like to call and be on my show, all you got to do is call in and say, hey, I got the book. I want to talk about it. We'll give you your time to talk about that book. And for that matter, any other book that you might get that you think is helpful. But I would encourage you to get in touch with the Rutherford Institute. I would encourage you, Morgan, go to the Rutherford Institute. Just go to rutherford.org, get a phone number, get in touch with John Whitehead. You're welcome to use my name. He knows me. We've worked together for years now. He's been a civil rights attorney for more than 40 years. And he's worked with the Wiley Drake Show and with Wiley Drake now upward of 20 years. And so I would tell you now, like I said, I don't have any necessarily in with him other than the fact that he's a good attorney. But I would encourage you, Morgan Firecloud, to get in touch with John Whitehead. You're welcome to tell him you talk to me or leave it out, but you're welcome to say, I talked to Wiley Drake, and he suggested, and if John is listening, and I know he does quite often, John Whitehead, if a man by the name of Morgan Firecloud calls you, I've looked at his case, I've looked at his information, please consider it, and please consider. Now, you all know, and I know, that Rutherford Institute cannot take every case that they see. But I believe John Whitehead is a fair man and a good man. He's a godly man. He loves Jesus, and he's a great attorney. And I believe if you'll contact him, get information to him, I believe that the possibility is they might take your case. Now, I can't guarantee a thing. The fact that you tell him Wiley Drake told you to call doesn't cut any slack. He's going to do his job the way he thinks God wants him to do it, not what Wiley thinks. But I would encourage any of you out there, if you have a case, your civil rights are being violated and your children's rights and so forth are being violated, get in touch. Go to rutherford.org and find the contact number, get the phone number. Now, you know it's like everybody else, like trying to get in touch with old crazy Wiley here. You got to call me a time or two. But I know for a fact that John Whitehead's a little bit like me in that if you get in touch with him, You just be patient. He'll get back with you. So, Morgan Firecloud, get in touch with John Whitehead.
I absolutely will.
Thank you so much, and God bless you. You're welcome to go anytime you'd like, but you're also welcome to stay. One of the things we do, folks, we don't limit our calls. You can stay on as long as you'd like. What else would you like to share, brother?
It's just so frustrating, when you've got proof that the mother of your child has abused your kid, and nobody wants to seem to do anything about it. But it's the roles that, it just feels so weird because if the roles had been reversed and I'd been the one abusing him, I would be in jail right now.
Well, sure.
Even when she was arrested for assaulting me, they put her into a thing here called the Veterans Court, which takes criminal offenders. They run them through a special court set aside just for veterans. And it basically slaps them on the wrist and puts them back out on the street.
Yeah.
Because they're veterans. And I'm sorry, but, that's one of the things that just because you served our country, just because you defended our rights, just because you fought in a war, doesn't mean you get to come back here, break the law, get slapped on the wrist because of it.
Amen. Brother, I agree with that, and I'm a veteran. I went to Vietnam 2 tours of duty, and I fight for veterans all the time. And I think veterans are being given a rotten deal in many cases, but they should not be given a special edict to break the law. They should abide by the law like anybody else. But I would encourage you to...
Well, this is one of McCain's babies, so...
Yep.
This is a program McCain got going.
Yep, you're right. Well, brother, thank you so much for being on with us today. We want you to know we're praying for you. What's your son's name?
Hey, hang on a second. Hang on. He wants to say hello.
Okay.
Hello?
Good morning, young man. What's your name?
My name is Aiden Firecloud. I am the person that my dad, Morgan Firecloud, was talking about.
And what is your first name?
Aiden.
Hayden?
No, not Hayden. Aiden.
A as in Adam. A-D-E-N?
A-I-D-A-N.
A-I-D...
A-I-D-A-N.
Okay, thank you so much.
A-I-D-A-N.
I thank you for telling us that, and I'm sorry you're having to go through what you're going through. I want you to know, young man, we're praying for you every day. That's why I asked for your name, so I can ask God to bless you by name, not just a little boy, but by name. And Aiden, I thank you for coming on with us and sharing with us, and we want you to know we're praying with you and praying for you, and we're going to do everything we can to help.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the screen right now. I'm watching.
Okay, and so you can see you and your dad on the screen right now, right?
Right. Well, actually, I'm looking so fast. Okay.
Okay.
There's a delay. Okay.
Okay, yeah, there's a little delay there. That's okay. All right, Morgan and Aiden, thank you so much for being on with us. You're welcome to stay on. I'm going to move on to another report right now.
Yeah.
One of the fellows that I work with very closely is a guy by the name of Bill Wilson. And Bill Wilson does a thing called the Daily Jot. And this is a part of our reporting. And he reports today on the scales of color and character. And it says on August the 28th, 1963, a Baptist, by the way, minister, Martin Luther King Jr., stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and he proclaimed his I Have a Dream speech. And I've been on that very spot, stood right there where Martin Luther King Jr. stood. And here's what he said back on August...
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know any of this, okay?
Okay. All right, well, we're moving on. Thank you for sharing with us.
Okay, well, I'm handing the headset back to Dad now, so... All right, switching over.
Okay.
Sorry, he insisted on saying hello.
That's okay. No problem. No problem. We're an open program. I have what I call a unique program. Nobody else has a program like this. Most programs, if that would have happened, what just happened, they'd have just cut you off. And we don't do that. We have an open studio policy. We have an open air policy. You're welcome to come on anytime and share anything, any way you'd like to. And you're welcome to stay on with us. But I do think it's important that we move on to the rest of our report here.
Oh, yeah, no, I actually, I have appointments I need to get going on today, too, anyway. So
Okay, my brother. Thank you.
I got to get him and I ready to go. So thank you for the time. And please, God bless you.
God bless you, and call back anytime, okay?
I will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Morgan Firecloud in Aden. A little boy, 9.5 years old, and they're fighting. And so they're fighting the government over this whole issue. Now, we're going to move on now because today is a holiday. You won't get any mail today, so don't go to the post office box. Don't go to your front door. I'm not going to go to mine because there'll be no mail there today. The government employees are taking a day off. And but there's one of the men that works with me and works with us that did not take the day off. Today is indeed January the 19th, Monday, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And I guarantee you, we've not taken the day off. But now, our dear friend over at a place called the Daily Jot is a fellow by the name of Bill Wilson. And Bill gives us a report every day with the analysis of current events, like the Firecloud event or whatever, but current events from a Bible and a prophetic perspective. When Mr. Wilson talks about God and Jesus, he does use those words, God and Jesus, but he also uses the word Yahweh, which is a Hebrew word, and another name for Jesus, that is Yeshua HaMashiach. That's for Jesus Christ. Those original names. Now, his title today for his Daily Jot is called The Scales of Color and Character. And as I said back there, Dr. Martin Luther King said, and I quote him, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." What a great speech that was, and what a great idea that is. Well, he went on to say, this is a very Christian principle, Bill says. In Acts chapter 10, the Apostle Peter received a vision from the Lord Jesus Christ that showed him, quote, "What God has cleansed, that call not thou common." This means what Peter said in Acts 10:34, "Of a truth," he said, and I quote, "I perceive that God is no respecter of persons." The fiery words used these days to describe leadership government are often characterized as racist, when in effect they are born of truth. Part of the problem is that many people believe that when criticism is aimed at people of a certain race or ethnicity, that it indicates racism. Certainly, God only knows the heart of persons living in criticism and leveling criticism. But before the race card is played, perhaps those hearing the criticism should investigate the veracity of the charges. Another biblical principle is that the truth shall make you free. Former President Bill Clinton grabbed some headlines years ago when he said that words have meaning and that we all need to mind our words when passionately arguing our positions. But then Mr. Clinton went on to say and imply that anyone disagreeing with the current regime was akin to the Oklahoma City bomber. Character matters, right? Indeed, supporters of the illegal alien of the Oval Office, and by the way, if you want the facts on that, all you got to do is get the evidence case. The evidentiary kit is available to you. Just go to Where's Obama's Birth Certificate, and you will get some 70-odd pages of evidence, folks, not innuendo, not accusation, but evidence of the non-rights that the man in the White House has. He is not a citizen. He does not have a legal birth certificate. And you can go to Where's Obama's Birth Certificate and find out about it. Supporters of the occupant of the Oval Office often characterize criticism as racism. When I criticize Barack Hussein Obama, when I criticize Barry Soetoro because he lied and produced a fraudulent birth certificate, I'm not doing it because he's black. I don't give a rip what color he is. If he's wrong, he's wrong. Further, if one passionately disagrees with his agenda, it's not only racist, but also an act of sedition. I disagree with Obama Scare and Obamacare. It's terrible. They voted on it without even reading it. You know, you heard Miss Nancy Pelosi say that. It's not only racist, but also an act of sedition, they say. And one step more, if one disagrees because of a belief that the leadership is ungodly, then you are considered a possible religious terrorist. Ladies and gentlemen, I said I was going to pray against the President of the United States. And I prayed, in fact, I'm going to share with you what I prayed, and you can see what kind of terrorist I am if you really want to know. I said, they have rewarded us evil for good. This is God's word. Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. When he shall be judged, let him be condemned, and let his prayer become sin. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. Well, the Secret Service decided that Wiley Drake was a terrorist, and they visited me in my home to investigate me. Well, thank God they didn't find any evidence. But if one disagrees because of a belief that the leadership is ungodly, then you're considered a possible religious terrorist. Case in point, Time columnist Joe Klein on April 18th, the Chris Matthews Show said that sedition is defined as a revolt or an incitement to revolt against establishment authority. He then all but accused Sarah Palin and Glenn Beck of sedition. Klein further said that racism and fears about the economy were motivators of that criticism. Truth is, both of our most recent presidents reflect poorly on American Christians. Both George W. Bush and the current president, although he's illegal, believe that there is more than one way to heaven. Both of them believe there's more than one way to heaven. Both pressured Israel to split its nation into two parts. Folks, that's wrong. Giving land to proven Al-Qaeda and Obama's favorite folk, the Muslim Brotherhood, and terrorists. One took a hard public stand against abortion, but did nothing to stop government funding of Planned Parenthood. There are many other examples where America's leadership has weighed in the balance and has been found wanting. Character has no color or political party. That's what Dr. Martin Luther King said. You see him there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. On the screen, Our standards should be and should reflect those of God. Then so would our leadership. Bill has pointed this out to us very rightly so. And we need to understand, folks, when we disagree with a politician, it's not racist. I don't care what color he is. If he's wrong, he's wrong. The economy that we're in today is based on the principle that we just keep spending and spending and spending, print more money, spend more money, and not be responsible. And that's wrong, folks. That's wrong according to the Bible. It's wrong. Well, it's time for us to get out of here. Thank the Lord for Rutherford Institute, John Whitehead. I want to say thank you to Morgan Firecloud and his son, Aiden, for coming on. And if you'd like to be on, we'll be back at 5 o'clock. You're welcome to come on and be on with us. God bless you. Have a good day. Now remember, the theme for this program, the motto for this program is, do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Good day, and God bless.
Meet Aiden, a happy, loving 8-year-old who's endlessly excited by the world around him.
I'm Aiden and I know it.
With his love for history, comics, reading, meet 8-year-old who's endlessly excited by the world around him.
I'm Aiden and I know it.
With his love for history, comics, reading, music, and his boundless imagination, the casual observer might never know that Aiden has autism. Aiden's greatest passion is science, and he devours every show and book he can find. Recently, Aiden met with his idol, David Pogue, host of Nova's science miniseries, Making Stuff. Pogue was astounded when Aiden recited the entire opening narration from memory.
Building stature outlines bacteria that make gasoline. Tiny devices that turn a repair in the window will sell you machine. Customers run shouting up the phone up and an
Oh my gosh, he memorized the whole thing. That is unbelievable. I have never met a kid, not my kids, not any kid, I have never met a kid who has done that before, who memorized the whole thing.
This is a very special boy. In fact, there's only one thing Aiden loves above all his other passions: his father. However, in December of 2013, Aiden's mother was arrested on charges of domestic abuse, and fathers have limited rights in Arizona, and state custody laws threaten to tear this autistic child from his loving father. Time is against them, and very soon Aiden may become a ward of the state. Once this happens, there is very little hope, particularly for an autistic child, of ever escaping the system. Aiden's father, Morgan, is disabled, afflicted with high-functioning autism himself. With several agencies pitted against him, Morgan struggles daily to retain custody of his son. Aiden and his father cannot win this battle alone. Please, help this beautiful child stay with the father who loves and understands him.
I'm Aiden and I know it.
Click the link below to see how you can help. Aiden, a happy, loving 8-year-old who's endlessly excited by the world around him.